Good morning. I would like to read for you this morning a poem of my own entitled Plastic Berber Dreams. As with so much of what I write, it's a fantasy, but it has its basis in reality. I was spending a lot of time on foot. I was working, I was stage managing a play, and my work was about 35 minutes from home. My reliable transportation was at that time unreliable, so I was spending a lot of time on foot. And I would walk past a house at the same time of day, and the light would strike the window just right, and I could see inside the window a toy camel and a toy palm tree. And I assumed that it was a child's toy. There were children's toys in the lawn. I was never close enough to the window to be able to tell if there were children inside the room, but it seemed logical. And I walked by one morning, and the palm tree was there, but the camel was gone, and it had been replaced. And I was struck by the fact that I missed the camel. I wanted to see my camel, and he wasn't there, and I didn't want to see what was under the tree now. I wondered where the camel went, what had happened to the camel. And this camel took on kind of a life of its own in a poem that I started writing in my head while walking that day. And I got home, and if memory serves, I started to scribble it on the back of a bank envelope while standing on a bridge over the Poudre River. There's a grain elevator, and there's a big bridge that goes over the river there. And I was standing there resting the envelope on the abutment of the bridge while trying to scribble. And when I got home, it took 2 or 3 days. This wasn't one of my faster poems, but it's one that I'm happy with. I still wonder what happened to the camel. I miss my camel. But that's what I'd like to read for you this morning, is a poem entitled Plastic Berber Dreams. There was in the window a toy camel, brown and brawn and warm in the sun. Beneath pressed palms he stood, I like to think awaiting the stars and their cool. I watched, but saw no sign of his struggle with the day. He was most patient. The dust smelled of spice on that caravan trail, no doubt, tasted of commerce. Ali Baba, Scheherazade the Queen, Babylon. Do toy camels yearn? From windowsill to Wadi Rum, the Valley of the Moon, Petra bound and on. Would tin soldiers or paint plastic Berbers pile him high with hot cinnamon? Are Jazailchi Pashtuns awaiting by the ghats of wooden Benares? His single hump could rest flying carpets between Jinn's fraudulent wishes. Beyond the range, beneath the high mesa shade, he'd trek if he lived in my dreams. Where he stood, pads printed the unkempt ledge, evergreens scented my vantage. If the wind blew, would Scirocco's scrub those passage proofs from the lemon woods? While the sun burned east, I tried not to blink, afraid of closed steps and missed eyes. Then evening fell across the window with a flash. He was behind the glow. Day's close saw him, still there, behind cut fronds. I went on, sad for lonely toys. I stopped to smell the hot shadow flowers I planned to pass by morning. That night amongst my unconscious journeys rose the dunes of the Sahara. Darkness before dawn is the desert of the day. We wake dry, tired, famished. By sunrise, I set out upon my path, the plods of my work before me. A beast of burden, I looked for my plastic companion tethered behind glass. The paper trees were there, and etched in the aging dust were the trader's trails. The camel was gone. In his place, a cowboy and his horse, saddle, plastic hat. Each day is new, exotic and changing, difficult. Through each we seek paths. Perhaps for some a roundup behind the glass is the fantasy of days. For me, deserts call and spices waft high on the wind, and dervishes whirl. So I miss my plastic camel. I think sometimes of him while plodding home. Even the cowboy now is gone, replaced by a fickle child with cars and trucks. Plastic camels don't dream beneath fake trees. Their dreams are in us. In me. You. That's all. Thank you.